Hello, everybody. This is Rogers Harrison. Welcome to the Sports Deep Dive podcast. I am joined today by Bryan Kleparek. Bryan, how are you?
I'm wonderful, Rogers. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Now, we've got kind of something different for you listeners out there. We are going to, instead of me giving you a topic and Bryan go, well, that's interesting. Today, we're going to interview or talk to Bryan. Now, Bryan, as he mentioned, has a YouTube channel where he does a little DIY, but also he has another life as well, and he used to run some youth soccer organizations. Is that right?
That's correct.
So we're going to talk about youth sports, in particular youth soccer.
Sounds fun. Let's do it.
All right. So give us the background of how you got involved in youth sports.
Yeah, this kind of goes way back as far as youth sports. Obviously, I played youth sports as a kid.
What did you play as a kid?
I played basketball, baseball, and football because growing up here in the rural South, those were your options.
Okay.
Yeah. Not complaining. Great experiences in all three. And actually, that's sort of what got me into youth sports. I didn't have a dad growing up. My dad died when I was 6. So then, single mom carting me off to just all these sports. And obviously, a lot of other dads stepped up to be my coaches and all those things as I grew up playing those sports. So when I got into college, I decided that I wanted to give back, and I coached youth basketball and youth baseball.
Now, when you were in college and you were coaching, so there wasn't a relationship between the college and these youth programs. It was just you were a college student.
That's correct.
And you decided to be a coach. And so were these city leagues or what?
Yeah.
What was that?
City leagues. Back home where I'm from in DeKalb County, there was a junior pro organization. I coached there for junior pro basketball organization that I coached for a number of years. And then in Murfreesboro, I coached for a youth baseball organization, and then also did some youth basketball in another town that was close that I just found out through the grapevine needed coaches.
Okay. So the coaching route is what you took. Most college students, when they get involved with youth sports, might do refereeing.
That's correct. Yeah, most of them, right?
But you decided you didn't want to be a referee or anything like that.
No, coaching is always, the coaching side of it always appealed to me. So that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
So yeah, I did that for a number of years, and then there was a period of time when I got married. I stepped back from coaching youth sports, and then I had my own kids. And in the meantime, my little brother went to college, graduated, became a teacher in our hometown, and somehow ended up the high school soccer coach at our alma mater. The only soccer he had ever played was in college. He took soccer as a elective.
Right.
But when they saw that on his resume, they said that he could have the physics and chemistry job if he would also agree to start a soccer program at our high school.
So your brother wanted to teach physics and chemistry?
Yes, he's wicked smart, and that's what he chose to do. So he started.
Is he older or younger?
Younger.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like.
So the brains, missed you.
Oh, totally skipped a generation. Yeah.
Okay.
Or not a generation, but skipped a kid anyway. He's by far way smarter than I am. But anyways, He started a soccer program. Didn't know anything about really know anything about soccer. Dug into it. So just during that period of time, it was before I had children, and I would go to all of his games just to support him because he was doing something new, and that's kind of the relationship I have with my brothers. So I got into soccer that way. Was kind of weird. Never played it. Never, whatever. And then when my daughters were born and got to the younger ages of like, hey, we want to get them involved in things, I found out soccer is one of the best sports for a young child to get involved in, because soccer can be broken down in its most basic, simple parts for just about any age of a kid to be able to play, as long as they can walk. And so it was pretty neat. Like we started doing soccer. My daughters fell in love with it, and we did soccer with one of them for, I don't know, 16 years. Actually, she's playing for a club team at her current college. But yeah, so soccer forever. And that's how I got into youth soccer.
Now, is soccer considered a pretty good youth sport? Because in soccer, you are constantly running, builds up stamina. Unlike basketball, where you're running a bit and then stopping, and then having to run again and stopping. Or baseball or softball, where you're just basically standing for long periods of times.
Yeah, that's why I think it's the best sport for a kid to start with, is that it's constantly going, and children just don't have a big attention span. So if you're just standing around, it tends to get boring for them, And it's not for every child. Don't get me wrong. Some kids don't like to run, then soccer's not a good thing for you. But for most children that you're wanting to get them into like a beginning sport, soccer is a great place to start. We'll talk about, as we go through this, some of the downsides of soccer as they get older. But when they're real young, like 3, 4, 5, even 6, 7, it's a great sport for kids.
All right, I wanted to go back to, though, your roots of coaching, and you said you coached some basketball and baseball. You said you got involved in soccer because of your brother, and then later your daughters, while they were growing up, they were playing youth soccer.
That's correct.
All right, but your daughters are older now.
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever thought about going back and coaching some basketball or baseball? Or
Yeah, I have. I don't know. I guess at this point in my life, I have other interests. Coaching, when done correctly, is a very time-consuming endeavor. I know a lot of people volunteer to coach your kid's team or whatever, and it takes, a night a week and then the weekend game or whatever. But when I coached, that's not how I did it. And if I were to do it again, I wouldn't be able to do it that way. So
right.
Giving up the amount of time that I feel is necessary to do it correctly kind of has deterred me from going back to it. Mainly because, I'm guesting in on your podcast all the time. I have a YouTube channel of my own. I'm doing a lot of different projects. I have my overlanding that I do. Like I just am getting busier now in this part of my life with other things, I guess.
Right. All right. So let's talk about coaching soccer.
Sure.
Now, soccer is one of those sports where, and you could put hockey in this category too, where a lot of people don't know much about it unless you have a team in your area.
Yeah.
A lot of people know about football A lot of people know about baseball. A lot of people know about basketball. But and I think a lot of people know about those sports because there are youth sports available that do basketball, football, and baseball. There is high school baseball, basketball, and football. There's high school soccer as well. And then college, football, basketball, and baseball are considered more popular than the soccer. But then after that, not everybody has a Major League Soccer team. Not everybody has a National Hockey League franchise. There's probably more minor league hockey teams than minor league soccer teams. But let's go back to soccer. So, you said that your brother had to do a deep dive into learning the sport and the rules.
Yeah.
And then you, in turn, by watching him coach, I guess also had to have that education as well.
Yeah, and a lot of discussion. He was brand new into it, and so he would bounce ideas and things off of me and I was, because I was going to the games and stuff, paying attention to them. Also started watching some pro soccer and that type of thing. In those early days, it was, for him, a lot of trial and error and just talking about it. And I participated in that. And so I learned a bit through osmosis, just being in that space with him and talking about it and that type of stuff. I learned a lot about the sport. And, the neat thing about soccer is it's very similar to your what I call 5-player court sports in the strategies, because you gotta, like hockey, hockey has a goalie and then you got your out players. And even though hockey's more contained and all that, a lot of like the same ways you would think about it work in soccer, like strategy wise, just add people in space,
Mm-hmm.
And I played a lot of hockey. So that kind of, this will make, an European person or a German person or somebody that grew up with soccer probably cringe. But in the early days, there was a lot of hockey ideas that were floating around at his soccer team. just out of ignorance, right? We didn't know any other way, so we applied what we knew.
Well, the good news is you didn't have to worry about the refs calling icing.
But you have offsides
on the pitch. Well, yes.
And offsides is an incredibly complicated rule, kind of like trying to figure out icing if you've never played hockey. So,
Well, let's talk about Lowry. So let's break down the rules. All right. So tell me how many players on the field or the pitch, as it's called.
Yeah. So one side's 11.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the goalie.
No, it's 11
including goalie.
The goalie.
I'm trying to draw it. All right, and the name of the field, we call it a field, but what's it called?
A pitch.
It's called a pitch, correct. And you've got the referees.
Yep.
And then tell me about the referees.
So a typical match, well, depends on what you're watching, but a typical match will have 3. You have 2 linesmen
right,
that are running half field, and they're on opposite sides, and then the center ref. But now, most matches also have a 4th referee, which is on the sideline that checks players in and out and keeps the coaches in line.
Okay. So for youth sports, do you have 11 playing, 11 starters, and 3 referees?
So no, it depends on what level. So like if you're U.S. soccer, and I'm not real up on how this is done overseas, but here in the U.S. soccer recommends you start with a 7v7 format when you start playing competitive, okay. And then you have a 9v9 format, and then you go to the 11v11 format.
Okay.
Yeah.
Baseball has Little League.
That's correct.
and then you play little league and baseball basically up until you go to high school, and then high school takes over, or you might have some travel teams or that type of thing, right? So what about soccer?
Yeah, so soccer's like way more competitive not baseball today. I mean, that what you described was baseball when we were kids.
Right.
Baseball today is a lot like soccer in the way that it's gone. But with soccer, generally you play just rec league soccer is what they call it until you are 8 years old. So U7, because now they do all this it's under 7, under 8. So when you get to U8, then you start to play like a lightly competitive where you either play interclub or you play some local clubs, but you're playing on a travel team basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some we talked about some of the advantages of youth soccer.
Yeah.
But what are some disadvantages as far as working with people that are so young and they're not fully developed? Their bodies aren't fully developed yet.
Yeah. What I have seen in my time in, like you said, I ran a fairly large soccer club and have been exposed to soccer on the youth level at all the levels. Is that kids tend to get labeled early, and then but some kids maybe aren't as developed early, right?
Right.
And so where one kid, say Johnny's real lean and fast when he's young, but then he gets older and that's not as much the case. But if he's built up that reputation within these clubs, then he'll get the preference over, say, Nick may have started off gangly and not very coordinated, but then all of a sudden he comes into his own, and it's a lot harder for him to get on the higher level teams and all that. Okay. The other thing the biggest other thing that I see with youth soccer is that it is highly became a pay-to-play model. And so there's a lot of really talented soccer players in the U.S. that are never discovered because they can't afford to play for these clubs.
So let's go back. Let's talk about your administration as with these youth soccer. So tell us the history about that. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah. So, I started out just as a dad. I got recruited to coach because every rec league out there needs coaches, right? Parents that will step up and do that. I started out as an assistant coach because I didn't really feel that comfortable with my soccer knowledge. And then kind of that morphed into coaching, being a head coach. And from there, I was very involved. So I got asked to be on the board of our soccer club. Because the city. No, in most towns, the city doesn't run the soccer. It's usually a club of some kind.
Okay.
And a lot of them are nonprofit, although that's changing somewhat.
So is it like a league as opposed to a club?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they call it a club in soccer, but yes, it's a league. It's like your Little League or your Dixie Youth in baseball. Okay. Type of thing. So being as a nonprofit, they have a board, and I was invited to be on the board. And then I just kind of moved up through the ranks in the board. I was over rec soccer for a while. Then I was over competitive soccer, and then I became the vice president, and then I became the president. When I took over as president, I took it more like an executive director role and was really endeavoring to grow the club and grow the opportunities for our players, which morphed into some other stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you prefer the administrative side or the coaching side?
I much prefer the coaching side.
Okay.
There is a need, a very strong need for administrators, though. And so once I got up into that vice president role, it was really hard to maintain any kind of coaching because I was busy doing things for the club. Like I said, this was a very large club, so there was I don't know, $750,000 payroll to take care of and all kinds of things. So we're not talking. It's basically like a mid-sized business.
Do you feel like that as administrator, it was more like a sales role in the sense of you're trying to convince the parents, hey, have Johnny come play soccer as opposed to Little League or youth basketball or something like that?
Not necessarily. Not where we are, not our town, right?
Okay.
That might be the case in some smaller towns or some other towns, but no, it's more of, hey, we want Johnny to come play soccer at our club, not a different club.
Right.
And, my focus on that was to provide a really good product for that family. So meaning like where Johnny got great training, no matter if he was playing on the rec side or the competitive side, and no matter if he was on the A team or the B team on the competitive side.
Right.
I wanted the training to be the same so that if Johnny was just in rec and then wanted to go play competitive, he would have that ability to do that. And in our town, for you to play high school or middle school soccer, you almost have to be a part of some sort of a competitive travel team to make those teams.
Right, because the soccer teams in our town, like you said, middle and high school, they're expecting you. It's not really a developmental thing in middle school and high school. They're expecting you to already
be good,
have some experience or that type of thing.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and just, there's so many kids that do. So it's easy to weed out and say, oh, I only want these.
I want to share a story with you. I was 8 years old.
Okay.
My soccer team was called the Destroyers.
Nice. I love that. That is a great name.
Let's just say I wasn't the best soccer player on the pitch.
Okay.
Let's just say that on any pitch at any time. And so I hardly got the ball. And when I did get the ball, I would pass it. I was one of those. But one time when I was 8 on the Destroyers, I got the ball and I was so excited that I started running toward the goal.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna score a goal. I'm gonna score a goal, and this is gonna be great. I'm gonna outrun the competition and score the goal. And I kicked the ball, went into the net, and I was so excited, but no one else was excited.
Uh-oh.
As it turns out, I had scored on my own team's goal.
A common mistake made by 8-year-olds. Okay, so don't beat yourself up too much, Rogers.
So that was the end of my soccer career.
Oh yeah, okay.
That was it.
You didn't do soccer anymore after that, huh?
No.
Oh man, I coached a U6 team, and I had one kid score. I think it was a minimum of 10 own goals. Same thing. Every time he got the ball, he was just so excited, and you couldn't get him to go. He just went to whatever goal was right in front of him. It didn't matter.
And usually that was his own?
And he scored 10 goals on us.
Yeah.
He was having his best life, though.
Yeah.
He probably scored 10 goals for us, too, but
okay.
It didn't matter. You couldn't convince him that you only scored on one goal or the other goal. He was scoring in whatever goal he could see.
Okay. So you should have told the teammates, pass it to him when he's...
Oh, we had another teammate that wanted to tackle him every time he got the ball. Just because he was scared he was going to go score in the other goal.
Wrong sport, can't tackle.
Yeah. Lots of life lessons you have to teach.
Well, that's all I had. Is there anything else you wanted to say to wrap it up about youth soccer?
The one thing you didn't ask me about was just, and this goes to like youth sports in general, or maybe we do a different podcast on that. But it's just, parents, if you're hearing this, don't take life so seriously with this youth sports. Let your kids have fun. Enjoy the time that you're going to spend with them. My daughter played soccer from the time she was 4, and like I said, she's still playing. But when it came time for her to choose whether or not to play soccer in college, like for real, because playing on a club team is very admirable, and I'm proud of her, but it's not. She isn't on the collegiate team at her college,
right? And she's at a Division I school.
She is. Yeah.
I want to add that.
And she had offers to play at Division II schools and NAIA, and probably could have walked onto a Division I squad and earned playing time. But she chose not to because of she's going to get a degree in veterinary science, and that was going to be difficult and all of that. But in the end, I wouldn't trade any of her soccer that we did. We did all the lessons. We did everything she wanted to do. And she played a lot of soccer. But we had fun. We didn't put too much pressure on her. And when she decided not to play in college, she was okay to tell us that. Right? And I think was something that's very important, that parents don't get too wrapped up in the what could be or what all that. Just enjoy it. And that doesn't just go for soccer. That goes for baseball. That goes for football. That goes for, volleyball. Whatever sport your kid's playing, enjoy the time that you get to spend with them and watching them and all of that. And don't get too wrapped up on, are they going to play for D1 school and be in the NFL?
Right, because the percentage of Little League All-Stars or Pee Wee football champions who go to that college level, get a D1 scholarship and then maybe go on to the pro level is very small.
It is. And you can inadvertently, without meaning to, put way too much pressure on your kid.
Yeah.
So,
anyways,
that's my final thoughts.
That's good advice. All right, everybody. This has been the Sports and Deep Dive podcast. We've been talking with Bryan Kleparek about youth sports, mostly soccer. He had some good advice and some good background for us. I'd like to remind you that the Sports and Deep Dive podcast is a Podbean production, and we try to make this podcast, bring it to you short and concise, 30 minutes or less. We also have no commercials for commercial interruption. And so that is why you can just listen to us and then get on your day, or listen to us and then wind up your day, whichever you prefer. But until next time, when we take another sports deep dive into something cool, and just until then, so long, everyone.